Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of Because Mental Health Matters. Today, we're going to be talking about success in university and life in general, and why it doesn't specifically matter and why it's very detrimental for our mental health to be thinking in goals and success all the time. But before we get started, Hailey, how have you been? Like we haven't talked in a while.
I've been doing well. The news about Hong Kong is definitely a factor for my stress, but then, I'm trying to manage with doing stuff I like to do, and also I guess like a short summer vacation in March when like there are positive sides to it, so I'm looking into that side a little more. Yeah, and how about you?
I'm good. I was just asking, are you getting back into squash or like,
Well,
yeah,
I haven't played squash in a long, long time,
okay.
ever since the courts closed. So, um, a lot of home workouts and running with masks on. So, yeah.
God. Okay. I've been pretty well. I literally just finished my last exam yesterday, and well, that ties in really well with today because I swear this entire week, my entire year in my school has just been really stressed out about these exams because it like really affects our, university entrances
Mhm.
and all that. At least we think. But I've figured out from many people that like honestly life is just it goes on, and like one exam, one test, one period of life really doesn't affect everything.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I've also been off my medication for about 2 weeks now, and I'm actually feeling not as bad as I expected it would be. But yeah, so
That's
that,
a good sign.
yeah,
Was it like, does your doctor or like psychiatrist know about that? Or was
yes,
it like,
you do know.
okay,
They didn't specifically said I had to do it, but I just felt like I think I was ready enough, and we just slowly phased it out already. So it was
right. Are you planning to go back on it or
right
for
now
now?
not ready. Not right now, not yet. But
Mhm.
I do think I just want to work on myself, like with therapy and just with emotional stability before I get back into like the chemical aspect of all of
That
that.
sounds great.
Yeah.
I have a quick question about your exams because you were in Hong Kong for a long time before you went back to the UK. So how has like online school been and how does it affect you when it comes to face-to-face exams suddenly?
Um, Frankly, I prefer face to face because I've been online for so long, and truthfully, online school wasn't the best for my mental health. I spent basically the whole day on my bed, and I just had my computer next to me, and I wouldn't actually listen to any of the lessons. And so when it came down to it, when I did online tests, I was always like very stressed out. I was really apathetic. So when I came back and I was surrounded by so many people that not only were I feel like my school is a little bit more healthy than other schools because we have a less competitive atmosphere and we really like lifting each other up. So I felt that that atmosphere was really good, and coming back to face-to-face exams. And I'm an extrovert, so I love talking to people. I love being around people. So that definitely helped me a lot in this sense. So yeah, how was your experience? Because I know you were in online school, and then you went back to school, and then you went back onto online school, and then you went back to school and you had those big exams. So
I know. That was like you have no idea how much my grades dropped ever since COVID started. Um, so I personally don't hate online exams. Like, I mean, online classes. Like, I do what I mean, I I can listen in class because I'm opposite from you, an introvert. So I don't like going to school because of the social interactions and how there's a lot of people around me. So I do like this enclosed environment. But at the same time, since we had exams face to face, it was it was really tough for me because I struggled to study at home by myself. And so the mental pressure of going back to school just to take an exam and then heading back home and cramming another session, it was just it wasn't good for me. I think I would do better during online exams as well, because I'm getting used to that mode of, you know, work. And so I would just be more comfortable in my own space with my own, thoughts and stuff. So yeah, it was tough for me to begin with. And so I'm hoping that for this year, if we're having our exams also, I'm hoping that either we go to school before the exams start, face-to-face lessons, or we just take the exams online. Yeah.
So, okay, so we've both been through like an exam session this year. Have your parents ever like pressured you into like really getting good grades? And like, I know we've talked about this in the past, but like people listening to the podcast won't know, but I feel like both our families kind of care about our grades more than us running BMH. So like, what was your experience with that,
So I was like getting ready for bed, right? And the day went well, mentally stable, everything happy, everything calm. And then I started talking to them about how we're having interviews again, we're opening up applications again. And then the mentioning of school, I don't know what happened, but then my mom started mentioning something about school. And then she said that BMH isn't going to give us any results while report cards do. And so, report cards are the key to a good college. And I know like good schools are always what we're aiming for, but at the same time, I'm still learning to balance my time between academics and something I enjoy doing, like research papers and all that. And so yeah, it's a tough balance that I have to deal with myself, but at the same time, it's never something my parents understand, and they don't put that as a priority, which they don't have to, but they also don't have to like, be like look down on it, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. The whole reason why we're filming this podcast today instead of like maybe a few weeks ago was because my mom kept on pressuring me, being like, you have to revise for your exams and don't care about anything else, even though like I truly do care about like mental health and all of that. And I think that if BMH didn't even have like a tiny impact on like university applications, my mom would not be allowing me to do this, which feels incredibly bad, because this is something I really like to do. Like, I care about people's mental health, I care about psychology, I care about all of this. And I just feel like in this day and age, the Asian stigma around, oh, you should be really focusing on grades, extracurriculars don't matter that much, I feel like that is still so prevalent and so really damaging to our society.
Yeah, I think I do see that. I do see that aspect in my parents as well. Like they also see this as something I can write in my resume. That's why it's a good thing. And some people also start organizations because they want to get into a good college. But I made sure that everyone in this organization, and you and Charlotte, are both people who just enjoy doing this in general. And so yeah, it's very frustrating to see someone who literally lives with you think differently than you do. Yeah,
that I completely agree. Okay, yeah, so like I feel like the whole pressure around grades is not just for the sake of getting good grades. Like in our families, I think it's, again, as you said, like getting into a good college. And I don't really think that like college as a goal in general is like a really positive thing to have. I don't think having like a one goal in life is the most positive thing. Like if your whole life is aiming towards, I don't know, getting into Cambridge, after you get into Cambridge, you're not going to feel happy, because like life is a hedonic treadmill, as like psychologists would say. Like if you get one sort of success, you'll keep on wanting to aim for more and more success, and you'll never truly be happy, if you get me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I grew up in a very competitive environment, especially since we go to DGS, so we know the atmosphere we're in. And so I grew up going to a lot of university summer camps in the US. And so when I was 10, I went to my first one and it was eye-opening. Like I went to Harvard and Princeton and stuff when I was 10. So like I knew that was something I wanted in the future. And slowly now that I'm older and getting closer to the whole college recruiting process, my dream school is like I don't know, like I feel like it's bad for me to have a dream school, but I also can't get the dream school out of my mind. Like
Yeah.
there's so many times where I dreamt in my bed, like in my sleep, about me not getting into a school and me crying my eyes out, and in the morning my eyes are swollen and my pillow sheets are wet. Like
Oh.
yeah.
I haven't dreamt of not getting into school, but I've definitely dreamt about my dream school and like going to college there.
Mhm.
But I watched this YouTuber called Best Dressed, and she just made a video. She made a video about like her college experience and like college tips. And something that really stuck with me is that you really have to romanticize your life, and you can't expect everything to go a certain way. So she went to UCLA, and she said that Conan Gray, which is a very, very famous singer, also went to UCLA. And she said that Conan Gray made this like vlog about his time at the university. And that's why she really wanted to go to the university. She really romanticized that kind of life. But when she actually went to the university, she was like really depressed all the time.
Mhm.
And I just feel like that kind of culture, that kind of mindset is so damaging. Like the school I'm in right now, it was my dream school for a while, but like now that I'm here, I feel like I've set my expectations too high, and now I have just like everything has been put down for me, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I am very nervous about college in general because I have such high hopes for what I have, like what, the universe has in store for me, that I worry too much about, having a good time there than actually being myself. And yeah, and I feel like once I get it into the college that I've been aiming for so long, I feel like I wouldn't know what my next step would be, and I would just be there and I wouldn't know where to reach out next. And I think that part is so scary, especially because I never changed schools and I never went to a new environment. So I don't know what it's like to be a new person in a new environment. And I don't know how my mental health would change if I go. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely get you. That's why I feel like our culture should start shifting towards like a go as you go along, and like if good things happen to you, take them, but like if good things don't happen to you, it's completely fine. You shouldn't have like a specific goal in mind. Yeah. And just like what kind of career path do you want to go? Because I, from a young age, I've always wanted to be a doctor, but these few years I still very, very want to be a doctor, but I've really been delving into like counseling, which like being a psychologist instead of like a medical doctor, or going into politics because I'm really passionate about that. But I feel like at least in my family, there's still this sort of pressure to um for my family. My mom always likes telling me, oh, go to medical school first, like get that degree first, and then you can go out and do psychology. So I feel like there's still this sort of pressure to like be the best and be the most prestigious, have the most glory, but that's not what education is about, right? That education
Exactly.
is trying to learn what you doing what you love and contributing to society by working on something for a long time, not just doing it for the money, doing it for the power or the glory. So I just think that's something that I think, especially in East Asian, Southeast Asian families, that is like super, super stigmatized to like just get into any other career other than like the big four, big three, you know?
Yeah. I personally never had, and like I always knew that my family wanted a doctor in the house and all that, but I was lucky enough to have them like remind me that I just have to do what I want to do. And so I have always been interested in psychology, so I'm aiming to be, you know, in that career path. But then I also feel like with this whole career thing, I'm trying to take it step by step instead. So I'm not looking into a particular one right now, but I do know that I want to go into the field of psychology or neuroscience. And yeah, and I feel like being a like learning psychology and taking psychology in college, it's a really long path, like similar to medical school. You have to do a lot of stuff in order to get where you want to be. So I'm not trying to overwhelm myself in the process of thinking what I want to be in the future. And I'm just, you know, taking it step by step. Yeah.
Yeah, that is like absolutely fine. Like I was talking to a couple of uni people, and when I told them that I had like aspirations and like what I was doing to prepare for college, they were like, "You are way too young. Why are you thinking about this? Like these few years should be for you to like have fun and do all of that." And right now I'm like, every single person in my year is stressing about our GCSEs because apparently that's like the biggest exam, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I've talked to so many people, they're like, GCSEs really don't matter. Like the only grades that matter if you want to go to a UK university is the A levels. And if you want to go to US university, as long as you get like above B's, that's fine. That like your SATs are the things that matter. Like you don't have to get perfect A-star grades. You don't have to get 9s on all your GCSEs. 7s are enough. But I feel like there's just so much pressure in not only in my family, but just in the environment I am in right now. There's so much pressure to be perfect. But in this day and age, good enough is good enough. Like you really don't have to be perfect. And I just really hate the fact that the world always pressures everyone to be perfect. Like what do you think that? Yeah.
In our school right now, DGS, our school makes it really hard for us to see A's and B's in our report card. And even like the smartest people in our grades are getting C's and D's. And it's like I feel like what they're doing is just aiming for us to do well in DSE. So in a way, it's a good thing because they're making school exams a lot harder than the DSE itself, so that the DSE is easy for us when we actually take it. So that's like a good thing in a way, but it's also bad because it's so
much pressure.
It's so much pressure.
Like truthfully, at this point, we shouldn't really be caring that much about grades. I feel like next year is the time where we should really start like caring about grades. I asked a lot of people, they said you know, S4, your GCSE year, is the year where you should be really gaining a lot of friends, making friends with your teachers, just gaining connections and relationships in every way and not stressing about life. And I think that's something that I've started to do myself, even though my mom really disapproves. I've been going out with more people and like partying and just having a good time because I feel like truthfully, this is the last year I can do any of that stuff. So
okay, yeah, that makes sense. I think in Hong Kong we're so you know, we're so used to people saying that once you go to high school you have to sit down and start getting to work. And I feel like as much as you should do that, you also should be remembering that this is going to be the last time you're going to be a high school student, and this is when you have to, you know, learn to make connections instead of learn to do like trigonometry. I feel like there's so much in the outside world that you have to learn now, and school is ruining that for you. And As a student athlete, I'm hoping to be recruited by a college coach. So, in this period of time, I'm not only worrying about my grades, but I'm also trying to go to the US and meet people who have good connections with other people. And that's so important for not only like people like me, but also for you guys to like find the suitable path for you. And that's a big part that Hong Kong is missing out because they're so focused on seeing their A's and B's in report cards. Yeah.
Yeah, I really, really completely agree. And I've found I'm a lot on LinkedIn a lot, and there's this company called One Salting, and they basically talk about how to like get into like really good companies and just get good grades. And I found out their CEO, he worked at Facebook, he worked at Google, but he didn't get into a good college. Like he went to UC Irvine, which isn't the worst college, but it isn't, Ivy League. It isn't UCLA, UC Berkeley, all that. Yeah. So I've realized that getting a good university doesn't mean anything at all. And getting into a bad university also doesn't mean anything at all. Your life shouldn't stop because of one goal, because of one path. There are so many different paths lives can take you. And if you just go along with it, you'll find your way out somehow. And if you don't even get into a good job, it doesn't matter. Go into that bad job or mediocre job, whatever. Work hard, make connections, and then you'll eventually become a CEO. Yeah. And who actually, like, look at any CEO out there, look at Jeff Bezos, who goes to him and asks him, oh, what did you get for your college GPA? What grades did you get in high school? They only care about how much, like, how did you get up to CEO? Like, how did you invent Amazon? How did you do all that? Not saying that I support Jeff Bezos. I'm just saying, like, no one really
don't worry.
Past,
Yeah. So I have this really, really good friend, right? And he was planning to aim for an Ivy League. And the thing about that is that it ruined him a little because he started seeing that he had so many other competitions and so many other people have better grades than him, even though his squash is, top in his country. And so he was reaching out to schools like Yale, Princeton, UPenn, and he ended up going to Trinity. And I don't know if you've heard of that school, but they have like the best squash team, even though they're not the best university in the US. And because I'm so close to him, I saw his personality change over time, like his viewpoint change over time. And I felt that, like, I felt it's like, it feels really empowering to see that change, because he started off being very, very, very disappointed about not being able to get into Ivy League, to suddenly telling me one day that, I feel like if I go to Trinity, I'm going to get good connections because the squash coach knows a lot of people, and I'm going to get a good job, use my degree I get in Trinity well, and make money and be rich. And I feel that so empowering because I never saw life that way. I never saw college that way. Like, all you have to do is get a goddamn degree and then use that degree and do something with it. So, college isn't the last step. And so that was so eye-opening, because I always ended my life with where I wanted to go to college. And once I'm there, I don't know what's next. But then he reminds me that there's something more, and that I should be, aiming to do something more than just get into a good college. And that was so cool. But yes.
That is very cool. I actually have the same experience. My really, really good guy friend, he applied to Cambridge but didn't get in, and now he goes to one of the London universities. And I feel like this is something you'll notice a lot with people who like don't go to their dream school. After they go for like a few months, they love their current school, and it truly is just making the most out of what you have. And I don't know if many people know this, but my brother actually goes to Cambridge, and he himself says that he's actually kind of ashamed that he goes there because everyone has such high expectations for him. And like if he's unable to do something, it sets him up for a lot of disappointment. And that's why sometimes he does tell me to not care about like how good a school is and simply do something because I like it. And it actually was really eye-opening, and I kind of decided that I'm not going to apply for Oxbridge because I just know that it's a really toxic and just bad environment. And also I'm on TikTok, and there are so many people who like go to Oxford and Cambridge, and their whole account is just, it's so stressful and like it's very elitist. And like Boris Johnson went to Oxford, and I don't want to turn up like him, you know? So like, yeah, I feel like there are some times where success is not even success. It like it's not, it's just for the name, you know?
Yeah, I think that's also why a lot of people don't go to Harvard even when they can, and even when they have the ability to do so. I think I've heard so many people say, I'm never aiming for Harvard or MIT or anything like that, because you're surrounded by so many smart and competitive people, and you start like, I've heard of stories about a squash player going to Harvard. And the thing about athletes is that you don't have to get perfect grades as long as your sport is also really good. And so this player that went to Harvard is like number one in Egypt and something like that. And so he has like average grades only. So that really like messes him up in Harvard because he's surrounded by so many smart people, and he's like the dumb one in the class basically. So it's like, as much as he was happy about getting into Harvard and having this opportunity because he was like the first person in his family to go into Harvard, to go into college, sorry. He also felt like really miserable there, and he wasn't able to make friends because he felt like such an outcast.
Yeah, that sounds like really bad.
That does sound really bad.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where he is now, but yeah.
Could I just ask, were you ever like the gifted kid?
I mean, yes. I if I compare myself to my brother, um, he had a really unlucky start. I mean, he was really unlucky to begin with.
Do you mind? Sorry, it's fine. Yeah. Sorry, just say that again. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So I have a brother, and it was really unlucky for him because we started squash the exact same time, which means that he's already 4 years older than me, which means that he started 4 years later than he actually should. So other people were already really good, and so it was hard for him to catch up. So he was never like top 8 in his age category. And he left for boarding school really early, and he wasn't like fully matured yet, I guess. And so his grades started dropping and all that. And so, I was here under my parents, supervision. And so I was doing well, and I was doing good at squash. And so, yes, in a sense, I'm aiming for schools that are a lot more competitive than what he was aiming for. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. And I also don't know my brother's point of view on this situation because we're never close. But yeah, how about you?
I was a gifted student, and I think that I am still seen that way by a lot of people. Like, I have an academic scholarship, and I feel like that places a lot of pressure on me to do really well, from like my friends as well as my teachers. And while I still do well, I feel like I sacrifice a lot of my mental health just to do well in school. And like, you'll always hear this term gifted kid burnout syndrome, but it's so true, because I don't ever think we should label any kid as gifted. We shouldn't be like separating kids into different classes just because of their levels at I remember back in DGS, we had like special classes back in P3 when we were what 7 or 8. And I know it like really damaged people's egos and their mental health. And I feel incredibly bad for that, because why are we pressuring students to get good grades at such a young age? I remember back when I was P4, when I was 9, I was crying at home over a test when tests didn't even matter. Why are we so focused on grades at this day and age that we're pressuring little kids to try to be gifted, to try to be better, when they should really be living their lives, you know?
I feel like the worst thing that the Hong Kong education has ever done to us was to rank people among their peers. Not DGS specifically, but other local schools actually have a number on their report card where they put like 1 out of 300. So out of these 300 people in your form, you are number 1 or you are number 300. And that's terrible. That's like, it's terrible. And also in primary school, you know, in secondary school we have classes, right? U, W, X, Y, Z, and U being people with the best grades and Z being people with the worst grades, and, you know, play a sport and stuff. And so within each class there's also sets. So there's set A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So G being the worst, A being the best. And it was bad enough to need to go through it myself. But then around when I was in secondary 2, I think I've heard like people telling me that, other people were telling me that their little sisters who go to the junior school also go through that set system. Like they also have to split into sets. And that was like so painful to hear, because I didn't know they had to go through that too, and they're only like 10 years old. And so I think this whole ranking thing and this labeling people as smart and labeling a bunch of people as, you know, dumb, or people who only play sports, that's like, that has ruined so many people's mental health. And I cannot emphasize on that like harder. Yeah.
I have a friend that was very fortunate to have done violin for a young age and was really good at it, so her grades didn't really matter. And she loved the violin, and I feel like she is such a healthy example of what her childhood looks like, because like obviously she cared about her grades, but she was doing the thing she loved more. And I just feel like that's something every family should aspire to be. I'm not a parent or anything, but I just feel like that's so healthy, to do what you love and care about that more than caring about, you know, sin, cos, and tan, you know?
Yeah, I feel like there's just so much more than academics and the school you go to. And, you know, there's a whole life, you know, school doesn't teach you how to do taxes and shit. You have to figure that out on your own. And, you know, there's just, yeah, it's just a lot of life experience that you have to gain outside from sitting at your desk. And it starts from a young age. Like you can't be constantly comparing yourself to other people when you're 10 or 11. And, you know, let's say like, even if you like fail at something when you're 10 years old, that doesn't mean that you're going to be a failure for the rest of your life. You know, you have a hill to climb, you have experiences to gain, and you're so much different than the person you were 2 years ago. And I think that's something we all have to remember, because the person we were 2 years ago would be so proud of where we are right now. And that's, you know, that's the thing that has been keeping me going for the past few years, because I like when I'm so overwhelmed with all the stuff I have to do, if I like sit back for a minute to see what I've accomplished the past few years and what connections I've been making, it makes me like so proud. And yeah.
I feel like, yeah, definitely 2 years ago, I would be incredibly proud, not only of like what I'm doing in school, but just BMH, because like some people have said that we've really helped them, and that's so like touching and just happy for me to hear. And but at the same time, I feel like 2 years ago I wouldn't have been as mature as I am right now, and I would still be like, why didn't you focus on your grades as much? And I feel like this generation, and as we're maturing, we're really recognizing that grades and school aren't truly the most important things in life. And success doesn't matter in the long run.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't. I think there's so much, there's so much comparison made in this day and age, and you're comparing yourself to even your best friends and stuff. And so I think the first step to realizing that success doesn't matter starts from like not caring about what other people are doing and focusing on what makes you feel like you're gaining experience and gaining connections, because these two things are key in life. Like without these two things, you're never going to get far, even if you have perfect grades. So yeah.
Do you still remember back when like we first started school and we got tests back? Everyone would just start asking people what they got and like what their grades was.
This still happens.
I know. How? What? We were 6 years old. How did that happen? How did we get back a test and our first instinct was like, oh, what did you get? And then we start comparing ourselves. What is society gone to?
I know, that sucked. And we have biology right now, and this teacher, like just our teacher specifically, she has an Excel sheet, and we have this test, right? And it's out of 30 marks. She puts down all our marks in the whiteboard, like without our names, just like marks itself, and then ranks them from highest to lowest. And let's say if you were the lowest in your class for that test, you see your score at the bottom of the Excel sheet, and that's and like,
oh, damaging. Whoa.
Yes. I mean, so the first time that happened, she was like, okay, now I'm gonna put your scores up on the blackboard, and we were all like, what? Wait, what? And then and then my friend told me the next day that she went home to cry because she saw her name really low on the list. And then the teacher was telling us how if you see your name at the bottom, you should have to work harder. And the thing about that is that we all did all try our best. And, we put so much blood, sweat, and tears into studying for this test. And the result was seeing your name at the bottom of the Excel sheet.
Yeah. Makes you want to commit apoptosis. Sorry. Sorry, it was just biology, and I
It's okay.
the name. But yeah, that actually, I don't think our society in school is doing the best. And something I just realized. So I'm reading this book called My Year of Rest and Relaxation, and it's about a girl who like recently graduated from Columbia, which is an Ivy League, and she's really sad. So just another
there's a link.
Yeah, exactly. But just another example of like, even if you're living in New York City, even if you have a nice job, you have an inheritance, you have a lot of money, success in objective measures really doesn't mean anything. And your only success that you should be aiming for is your happiness. So figure out what you like to do, figure out what makes you happy, and do that. I feel like that's the most important thing in life.
Yep. I feel like all you have to do is work hard, play hard, and as cliche as that sounds, that's exactly what you have to do in life. And focus on your every step instead of using binoculars and looking into your life, because things change. We never knew we'd had COVID 3 years ago, and see how COVID started because mental health.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's always silver linings, and I feel like wherever you land in, you'll do well in, as long as you have a positive mindset about it and you're constantly trying to grow and make yourself better. And I think that's so much more important than your report cards. Yeah.
Or like even the university you go to.
Yeah. So this is the end of our podcast, and we hope that this podcast has gave you some sort of comfort in knowing that you shouldn't be so stressed with whatever you're working on right now, and you should sit back, relax, and have a day off, because we all deserve one. And as situations are constantly changing and COVID restrictions are constantly changing, you also have to
you have to learn how to really balance the things on your plate and learn how to look at the silver lining of every situation, because there is always a silver lining. You just have to try to find it. So yeah.
Or you don't have to find it. It all comes naturally to you, as long as you don't have anything negative inside your system. And so
thank you everyone for listening this week, and we will be back soon. We're very excited because we already have 2 podcast episodes lined up, or even more, depending on how long and how many responses and feedback we get.
So first of all, we have this podcast lined up that's called From Teenagers to Parents. And what we did was put out a link in our bio where we could ask people to fill in submissions about what they want to say to their parents anonymously. And the link is still up. You can still put in your submissions, but basically this whole idea was so that we had a platform to voice out our own opinions about parents. And we're not saying that our parents don't love us, or we're saying that they're parenting us wrong. We're just saying that there's things that they don't understand about this generation and this generation's mindset, and we want to voice out how we see things differently, because not everyone has the courage to voice out their opinions right in front of them, face to face. So this Google form submission is a safe place where none of this will be, you don't even have to put down your name. All you have to do is put down your pronouns so that we know how to refer you as. And yeah, that's it. And
the second podcast lined up is called Because Borderline Personality Disorder Matters, and this came out because I have borderline personality disorders, and I found that BPD is very, very romanticized, but also there's so much negative stigma around it. People think we're manipulative, but also people are like, oh, I really, really want to have BPD. And so I invited
seriously?
Yeah, literally, like go on TikTok, search a BPD, or just like go somewhere and search a BPD, or no, search this up on Google, how to date someone with BPD. Everything is just like break up with them. So I've invited a lot of online personalities, as well as just people in general that have BPD from a range of different backgrounds, a range of different ethnicities, genders, and we will just be talking about the stigma around BPD, as well as our personal experiences and the symptoms that come with it. So if you'd like to learn more about that, you should definitely stick around and listen to that next time. We are so excited, and thank you guys so much for listening this week. You can submit feedback to us just by DMing us or emailing us, or even using our Anchor platform where you can send in voice messages, which we can listen to. So yeah, see you guys next time with another podcast episode. Bye.